Okay, so what if we go ahead and very 1980s He-Man. So what if we just take this off and grab one of the spare He-Man, one of the mini spare He-Man harnesses. That might actually work. Wow. That actually works. Hey, friends and revolutionaries! Back with the next in the Netflix original series, Netflix original Masterverse series, the Masters of the Universe Revelations He-Man. And again, I'll rag on that Revelations just because so overused, so overdone, seen so many times before. But we're getting it again. We're now seeing it on our action figures. Yay! But yeah, taking a look at the first of the, I guess, 4 reoccurring characters. I don't think Skele-God from last week is going to be a reoccurring version of Skeletor. But I think in this case, from the first wave series, which includes He-Man, Mossman, and Skeletor, yeah, we're going to take a look at the first in these regulars, and of course we're talking about He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Much like Skeletor, their tagline, most powerful man in the universe, evil lord of destruction, that's stuck around. That's been there from the beginning. Taking a look at the packaging, again, I'm not overly thrilled with the packaging. This is not a package that I would want to keep a collector's version of. It's not that interesting to look at. It doesn't have any of the real hallmarks of a Masters of the Universe figure. It's not a blister. It doesn't have the dimple. It doesn't have the appropriate backdrop. In the background, and I didn't talk about this with Skele-God, but in the background, you can kind of see kind of a rock background, which I'm guessing is supposed to be part of Castle Grayskull or something. I don't know. But yeah, very, very little Master Universe influence in the packaging. Kind of disappointing. I think much like the characters, the figures really should have some iconic imagery to it in the packaging. Nothing here. Not the case. Disappointing. Very. Of course, we do get the Mattel logo and the Netflix box. One side we already saw. Second side, oh, and I do want to make sure to mention that on the side here, much like Skele-God, we do get a portrait of the character, looking very stern and serious. Really great picture of He-Man. And on the back, we get another picture, which is not just a larger version of this one. This is actually a different piece of art. I like it. I like the sword crackling with power. I like Castle Grayskull in the background. Whereas He-Man's looking pretty stern and serious here. He's looking pretty, I mean, don't get me wrong, still looks serious, but in a different kind of way. Charging into battle. Very cool. I like that. I like that. I like the art that we see here. I like the art that's in the animated trailer. So we'll have to see what it really kind of looks like, but it's not this. It's not this, but it's better than what we've gotten in the past. As I was saying, the other figures that are going to probably be reoccurring characters, we've got the Mossman, Skeletor, Evelyn. No Battle Cat shown. No Battle Cat in my collection yet. I've been looking. I've been checking. Still haven't come across him. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll be getting a Battle Cat. Especially considering now I've got He-Man. The write-up. I've got some things to say about the write-up. So if you don't necessarily want to hear me go on a little rant, go ahead and skip ahead. But yeah, I've got a little rant about this write-up here. It goes, He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Defender of Castle Grayskull, protector of the planet Eternia, and guardian of the entire universe, there is nobody stronger, faster, or braver than the mighty He-Man. He is quite simply the most powerful man in the universe, past, present, or future. A vessel for the mysterious power of Grayskull, He-Man inspires the heroes of Eternia to fight the forces of evil. Without He-Man, Eternia and the universe would be doomed. Yeah. And he's got a force field, and he can fly, and he can shoot lasers out of his fingers. There's been a lot of talk over the past few years about, Mary Sue characters in pop culture movies and things of that nature. And I don't want to get into that. I don't. But some of it is true. But it's something where write-ups like this, stuff that a 6-year-old says, puts He-Man squarely in that Gary Stu column. He-Man becomes a Gary Stu. And that's a shame, because there's been a lot of that type of thing with characters. Characters that should be heroic characters just turn into these just awesome Supermen, which I'll argue Superman is better than He-Man, but to me it's really bad, because it leaves no room for writing, it leaves no room for drama, for adventure. They're just it. That's just it. It's so bad, and I think a lot of people would sit there and say, Revolution, you're just you're getting excited about a toy, a cartoon. It's no big deal. But when you stop and think that toys and cartoons are kids' first introduction to storytelling and to reading and all that type of thing, it's important that entertainment be very good. That type of entertainment has to be better than, I would say, some adult entertainment is. And this isn't it. This is not it. This is actually as bad. This is as bad as I think it can get. Hopefully that's not a representation of what the show is going to be like. We'll have to see. We'll have to see, how well the storytelling of the show is. But I wanted to make sure to mention that with all the talk of, Mary Sue characters and some of the things that have been thrown out there, it's not just those characters. It's an example where modern day writers can take even a character like He-Man too far and create just an uninteresting character that can kill how interesting the character could be. But yeah, that's enough of the rant there. Let's go ahead, pop He-Man out of the pack, take a look, have some fun. Be right back. Alright, so we've got He-Man out of his pack, and yeah, there's good and bad. It's something where it's kind of a mixed bag on the figure. For the most part, I thought I was going to be a little put off by the fact that they seem to have made the character taller without making him broader. Without really keeping that Masters of the Universe, vintage, retro, classic kind of physique. I thought that would bother me. I thought this more slender version of He-Man would bother me. It doesn't. It doesn't. What I find that bothers me in the design, not so much, you know, the general, you know, shape of the figure, is the fact that he's got these really short arms. I was looking at it trying to think to myself, why does this look wrong? What is about this? Is it the fact that he's got too long a torso? Is it something about kind of the shaggy shorts? What is it about the figure that is really looking out of proportion? And it turns out that he's got these really short arms. You know, his arms need to come down a little bit further. Not a lot, but a bit. Because when I look at him here, it looks off. It looks off. And again, it's because the arms are too short. At least that's the way it seems to me. I might be completely off, but that's really the way it comes off to me, or it really seems to me. In terms of the sculpt, again, I'm not at all disappointed. For the first time ever, I think we finally got He-Man with soles on his shoes. It's not just the wrapped kind of barbarian boot. You actually get a sole on the shoe. And everything else is pretty true to the character. You know, he's got the wristband here. He's got the arm guard there. This is a part that's sculpted, or I'm sorry, an extra accessory piece. It's not sculpted on the arm like, you know, the other Master Universe He-Mans in the past. This is actually a separate piece, which makes sense. I mean, this is really going to be a body that they're going to be reusing multiple times. So it's probably a lot easier for them to simply sculpt a regular arm where a hand can be switched out and an accessory can be changed. But they need to redo these arms. They really need to redo these arms. The head, I'm not a big fan of the face. I'm not a big fan of the sculpt on the face. It's not quite as goofy and smirking as I thought in the package. But it doesn't really have that gritty He-Man kind of Conan-ish kind of persona. It might be true to his character in the show, but it's not true to the figure or to the toy line, which I'm okay with. Again, it's not as good as I was hoping, but it's not as bad as I was afraid of. He does have his harness with the H on it, which, you know, when you think about Battle Armor He-Man had a big H in his chest as well. So the H on there does not bother me. I don't want to. I want everybody to know the fact that he doesn't have the cross. That doesn't bother me. It's just the fact that somehow this is going to play a part in something. It needs to be explained. I want an explanation. The paint on it, the hair, it has a nice wash over it. Looks nice. He's got his blue eyes. Looks good. Looks good. The belt and the arm guard, his forearm and his wristband here are a little bit flat. I don't know why they didn't do a wash, or at least do it in more of an orangish kind of color. We'll take a look at a couple of the other He-Man figures from the past to see what I'm talking about, but this yellow, almost primary yellow, not quite primary, but this flat yellow color, it really is distracting. Especially against these dark, shaggy shorts, which are darker than they are in the other figures. There's no highlight or anything to them. His entire lower waist area here, lower pelvis area, is just bland and plain. The color isn't interesting. It just doesn't look good. The boots look fine. You can see the boot actually has some color in it, some texture to it. The fur on top of the boot is just a slight off color from the rest. It's a little bit darker. Whereas the red, you get a brown. Here, it doesn't even match. If this had been the same color as this, or if this had been the same color as the boot, we would have had something. Because that's what previous He-Man figures were like. Here, this dark brown just doesn't work. It does not work. I don't know if you can really tell in the on camera. When we bring in the other figure, well, let's go ahead and bring one in. let's stop talking about it and actually do it. If we bring in the Master Universe Classics He-Man, you can take a look here and you see what I mean. The shaggy shorts along with the boots, pretty much the same color. And there's some extra paint in there to really kind of make it stand out. The belt has kind of that orange color with the red paints on it, red paint apps. Here we get that yellow, that flat yellow that just doesn't look good. Doesn't look good at all. And even on the retro series figures, the retro line, which this is not the original, 80s version, modern day interpretation of it, but even this one, you can see the boots and the shaggy shorts are the same color with that same orangish belt. These two are true. These two figures are truer to each other than either one is to this. That's disappointing. Oops. That is disappointing. I'm hoping that if there's a reissue of this figure, if the show does well, and we get a Battle Armor He-Man, they redo the belt, they redo the shorts, they redo the boots. Or at least repaint the shorts in the same color as the boots. I think that right there would make a huge difference. Give us the orange belt, get the wristbands back in that classic kind of orange color, and I think you're on track. I think you would have a decent He-Man figure. As it is, this seems rushed. It doesn't seem as though that it was really... I don't think anybody really looked too hard at it and thought, it needs this, it needs that, it needs some fine-tuning. I think this was just, yeah, that's good enough, and moved out the door. And considering the show's coming out here in a few days, yeah, they wanted to have it on the shelf and ready for sales. I totally get it. But he's the main character. You want to do more for your main characters. His articulation, his head is on a ball joint. So full range of articulation. The elbows are rather tight. Or I'm sorry, the shoulder is rather tight. I've had to do some very careful work on it to finally get it moving. He's twisted the bicep, double joint at the elbow, twisted the hand with a hinge, whoop, and it just popped right out. He does have that ball jointed upper torso, which I would much rather have had the crunch like the Master Universe Classic figure does. And it looks like his harness came out. Okay, let's put that back in. There we go. Legs come up. They do come up, much like the elbow or shoulder. Let's say shoulder. It does take a little bit of work to get to move, but it does come up. Does come out. There's a twist at the top of the thigh. I thought that came off further than that. Okay, well, yeah, it does come up and out. Might have to heat it up a little bit more. Double joint at the knee. Twist of the boot, which this boot is very loose. Very loose twist here. Pretty good twist here on the right foot. Left one, all kinds of swivel. There's the hinge at the ankle and a little bit of a pivot. Well, actually quite a bit of a pivot, actually. You want to give him a wide stance. Looks like, yeah, his feet can stand pretty wide apart. And let me move these two out of the way before they cause any more trouble. I'm wondering if the face that we get here on this He-Man is going to be reused on the Prince Adam, because it really strikes me that's more of a Prince Adam face than a He-Man face. So I kind of wonder if we're going to see a reuse of this head. Because I wouldn't mind seeing a reissue of a new head if we get another version of the character. For his accessories, he does come with his shield. Of course, He-Man, he should always come with his shield, sword, and axe. As it is, he didn't come with his axe, but he does come with his shield. Bit of a variation on the previous one. There is no dimple in the middle, instead there is a nub, along with the rest of the kind of raised bolts or nubs on the outside. Does switch over his open hand and hold in place pretty well. And much like Skelegod, he does come with a Sword of Power. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same accessory, which I like. I mean, there's not much to it. It's just that kind of silver color with the leather brown handle. But I like the sculpt. I like the look of it. I like the design. It's modern but classic. It's very cool. Now, another shortcoming this figure has is that unlike the Masters of the Universe Classics figure, and even now these, banging my camera out, these retro reissues, the harness on the back has a place to keep his sword. You know, that was something that even from the 80s cartoon he had. Come on out. So there was always a place for He-Man to keep his sword with him. Now, it's not necessarily as important because he doesn't come with his axe. So it's not like, you know, he needs to store one accessory while holding the other. Take a look at it again back here. Considering it's just a strip of plastic across the back of the harness, it is quite disappointing that this one doesn't have it. I mean, you can go ahead and stick it in the back of the harness like so, and you can put it like that, and that's fine. I mean, it holds in place. It looks a bit weird, but it works. It does work. And there's a good chance I would probably keep it like that in most cases. But, like I was saying with Skelegod, these Revelation characters all seem to come with at least one spare set of hands. In this case, he's got two semi-open hands, kind of the gripping hands. I think He-Man is one of those characters that they could have passed on. I don't think they necessarily needed to give him two new hands. The open hand for the shield, sure. A fist, I don't know if a fist was necessarily a hand that we needed He-Man to have. I think the open hand is just fine. Let's go ahead and put the sword in his hand. Not quite as soft as the Skelegod plastic. There we go. Yep. But not too shabby. I mean, again, for a modernized interpretation of He-Man, I'm not going to complain. I think it's a decent design. I think the execution needed a little bit more polish, particularly around the paint apps on the belt, the length of those arms, you know, the whole kind of aesthetic of the shaggy shorts, the accessory storage for his harness, the fact that he doesn't even come with his axe. You know, overall it's a good figure. It's a good style. You know, I don't want anybody to think that just because, you know, this is not a Master Universe Classics figure, or it's not a true version of the 80s version, then in some way I'm not gonna like it. I don't have a problem with the change if it's done well. And I think this is on the right track. I just think that it definitely needed, again, a little more polish. It needed another, it had to have one more go over. You need to have one more go over. But simply because I know people like comparisons, well, I'll tell you what, let's actually bring in all three of these again one more time. No, I don't have the 2002 version or the 2000X version. I don't think I need to tell anybody who's watched the show that. But a nice little history group of He-Man. Kind of got that taller height than the Master Universe Classic. And I have to say, this is still the definitive He-Man. I will tell you that if you're looking for a good He-Man figure, Master Universe Classics is still the better way to go. But for a new series, I don't think that this is a bad He-Man. I think it's got some potential. We'll go ahead and bring in a nemesis for him, Skelegod. And as I said, Skelegod he's a tall character. He is very tall. But He-Man, he looks like he's up to the task. So yeah. So far, I'm definitely warming to the line. I'm still kind of in a wait and see, but I'm not as disappointed as I thought it would be in He-Man. Hopefully, that means the other figures that I've got, the other concerns I've got with the figure, or with the concerns I have with what I've seen on the other figures. I'm hoping that that'll be same kind of thing. Hopefully, I'll be pleasantly surprised with those as well. Hope everybody enjoyed watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, join the revolution. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.